Welcome to the Voice of Business, sponsored by the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce, which services Beverly, Danvers, Hamilton, and Wenham. I'm your host, John King, president of Headway Strategies, based here in the Boston area, bringing you today's show. The purpose of the Voice of Business is to bring you information about different business events related in our area. I think you'll find the topic today pretty interesting, as we're introducing an individual who in a short time has had a major impact on the Greater Beverly community. With us today is Bill Hanney, direct producer and owner of the North Shore Music Theater, and a recent recipient of the Leslie Ray Hall of Fame Award by the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, John. Nice to be here.
And we have Karen
Neskambeni, I'll make it easy for you.
Director of Corporate and Community Relations for the North Shore Music Theater, and the new president of the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So, Karen, to get started here, can you give us some background on what the Leslie Ray Hall of Fame Award is about?
Sure. This is going to be the fourth year that we've had the award, and it is part of the award ceremony that we're doing in February. And we chose Leslie Ray as the person to name the award after because he had a long-term commitment, not only to the Beverly Chamber at the time, but to the greater community throughout the North Shore. The Leslie Ray Insurance Agency has been around over 60 years now, and he was just very dedicated through the Chamber and Rotary and through the independent insurance folks, and so they thought, what better man in the community? And he was actually one of the founders of the original Beverly Chamber, so that's why they named it after him. The recipients have been Mike Harrington, who was instrumental in saving the theater through tough times, and then we've had Bill Scanlon last year was the recipient, the mayor, and before that Bill Howard from Beverly Cooperative Bank. So it's been people who have been real leaders within the community that have won this previously.
Excellent. So you're in some with some fine people there that have done a lot of work.
So.
So that's pretty good. Bill, congratulations again for this recognition. I think that's great. And as I read your biographical sketch on your website, I couldn't help but reacting to where I was at 19 years old. And I was working for Commuter Airline. I was smashing bags, trying to go to school and fueling and doing things like that. And here you're buying theaters. What prompted you to do that? And how did you get started down that path?
Well, the short story is I've always been interested in movies and entertainment since I was about this big. And I worked through high school and right out of high school at a local movie theater. And an opportunity came around where I could take over a theater. And I just kind of jumped in and did it. And from that, took over another theater and then another theater and kept going, and then get into live theater at some point.
Wow, and going to live events, that must have been quite a change.
It was. I did that probably about 3 years after I took over my second theater, which was a big theater in Fitchburg, and I started, getting into concerts, promoting concerts, and like that was a good business. And then I had an opportunity to go to another theater in Worcester to start doing Broadway type shows, touring productions. I did all that.
So that was live theater.
Live theater. And then kind of I've always been back and forth, always continue in the movie theater business, which I still am today. But find most enjoyment is in live theater. And now I actually produce the shows, whereas back when I would only present other people's shows. Now I actually produce the shows, which is a lot more fun.
Right, I would think so. Especially a little more control over what's going on with the shows that you're trying to produce.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the North Shore Music Theater. I mean, that had a long history. It started in 1954, as I understand, and then fell into some hard times in 2009, and you came in and bought the assets in 2010. And you've been doing that for 5 years now. So what's the story?
Pretty much, I had another live theater, which I still do in Rhode Island, called Theater by the Sea. Had that since 2007, and after doing my first year of shows there and watched them go into a dumpster after presenting them for the month-long engagement, I said, this is a shame. We should be bringing these shows elsewhere. Started looking for other theaters and was not successful in finding any, but then all of a sudden I heard an article on WBZ Radio about the theater at North Shore and hearing the problems and just getting involved. And again, long story short, went to the auction, bought it after the auction, put our first show on, that was October, put our first show on, I think it was July of 2010, and the rest is sort of where we are in history now.
Wow, that's quite a story, and it's been quite an impact on the community as well.
That is for sure. I mean, I had no idea when I decided to buy and save this theater what kind of impact it would have on the community, and then, because of them, on me. It's just amazing. To this day, I'll walk through that lobby and I'll be approached by I can't tell you how many people thanking me for buying this theater and bringing back their history, a lot of their memories. Just that people who've been going there since the day the theater opened in 1954, and it really is rewarding to hear those kind of things. And then, more importantly, because it's important for the theater to have the support of the people who buy those tickets. And last year, we just finished up, was the best year in our history, and I'm told pretty much in the history of the theater, as far as attendance and as far as critically acclaimed shows and things of that sort.
And you've changed the mix-up of what you're having in the theater now. I mean, you're bringing in shows that are produced somewhere else, or you're not produced somewhere else, but that are shows that you're producing yourself.
No, well, to be clear,
right?
No. What we do there is we originate every show there. Every show is created there from the casting in New York, which we start in about 3 or 4 weeks from now. First, I pick the title. It's important to have all the 5 titles chosen. As I always say, I've got to pick 5 shows that I think everybody will buy tickets to, and that's hard to do. At least get a balance of at least 60% of what they want, and the other, couple shows they'll just buy because it's part of the package. And when you hit a home run, sometimes, which we did this past year, you pick 5 really great titles. That's the challenge. Then when that part is done, then we go and we start to assemble the shows. We have to cast them in New York City. We cast them locally. This theater produces the costumes. We build the sets, hire all the local union musicians. It is really a homegrown production, which will run here 2 to 3 weeks maximum. And then it, as I say, it sounds horrible, goes into the dumpster.
Right. How much local talent do you use versus from New York? We
use, unfortunately, there's not enough local talent. We love using local talent. But we have our auditions, like a month before every show begins. And we look so hard to get local people. We've got a lot of local people. Probably, maybe in a show of 20, maybe 4 or 5 will be local, which is a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot of people, considering.
But you're still using the New York audience, the New York melting pot of actors.
Well, that's where all the actors are. They're from all over the world, and they end up in New York. Everybody's from New York. When I say, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm from New York.
Okay.
Where did you come from?
Okay, all right. And how much is there a mix of children's shows that you're doing as well?
We also do
your website.
Yeah, we do a series, the Kaleidoscope Theater productions. Those are shows that we buy the package. It comes in, it does the show, and we do those I think 5 times a year. And it generally sells out almost every performance, and it's a lot of fun.
So you don't produce those yourself? We do not produce those. Do you have somebody come in and does that?
They come in. It's a touring company that does that.
Okay, great. And so, are you leveraging these shows to theater in the by the sea down
No,
Rhode Island?
unfortunately, it's hard to do. Theater by the Sea is a regular proscenium stage theater, and we're in the round.
Yep.
Not impossible, and we've done a bit of that. I think last year we did 1 or 2 shows that kind of had most of the cast and the costumes from Theater by the Sea, and then they came here. Lacage, I think, did, and Cats did. But to do a show, to just move it from one theater to another, it's almost impossible to do because of being in the round.
Okay. So what are the 5 shows you picked for this year?
The season will open with one of my favorite shows, Dreamgirls. I always do a family kind of show in July, which is going to be Shrek, the musical this year.
Okay.
And in August, we've got the rights to do a pre-Broadway. The show is actually going to Broadway, not our production, but the title. It's Saturday Night Fever, which we're going to have a lot of fun with. Wow. And fall brings us Billy Elliot. And then we're going to finish the season with Sister Act. And then, of course, we finished the year with A Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol, right? Yep. I saw that. That's a traditional.
I won't ever change it.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Are you looking at other theaters in the area?
Not in the area, because I like to geographically make sure we're not competing with ourselves.
Sure.
But I'm always looking for other theaters, absolutely, because I think that I probably have one more of these live theaters that I've got in me that won't kill me, and I'd like it to be reasonably close, within a 2 or 3 hour radius of where I live, because the two theaters now are pretty far apart, and I put a lot of mileage on my car.
Okay. Okay, well, the gas prices are down.
That's the only good news. My car doesn't really care about that. My last car had 240,000 miles out when I got rid of it.
Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the community, because I think that part of this award that you got was based on some of the work you've done with the community. And apart from rescuing the theater, there's other things that you've done. I mean, you mentioned using local people to build the sets and make the costumes and provision you for food and hotels and all that kind of stuff. What do you, where else are you leveraging that community relationship?
Well, around the first year I took the theater over, I know the first summer we were very busy just getting it reopened and all that kind of good stuff, putting the shows on the stage. But then I met the lady next to me, Karen, and she really is fantastic at getting me involved in the community, which we've been doing 5 years. And it's probably one of the biggest rewards that we have, because it really gets out to the people who are actually either current or future ticket buyers. And we're always out there at all the community events. The theater is always available. We let it be used by so many different groups, and Karen could speak to that. Just tons of different groups to make this theater, it's not just a business in Beverly, it's part of the community of Beverly and the surrounding towns.
Right. Well, Karen, why don't you tell us about some of the things that you've orchestrated on
Sure,
on behalf
sure.
of the
I
theater?
mean, Bill's been very generous with the theater space. I mean, the Greater Beverly Chamber is a perfect example of it. We host their business showcase for, I think it's going to be our 4th or 5th year this year. And so we do a lot with that, but we also do a lot with charities where, I mean, not only the thousands, I'm not talking hundreds, thousands of tickets that Bill donates to charities that use them for auctions and fundraisers and that kind of thing, but we work with groups like North Shore Elder Services, for example. They're a member of the Greater Beverly Chamber, and they'll bring in someone like Ronan Tynan, and they actually rent the theater from us. We rent it to them at a fair price, and then we take care of everything, the tickets, the ushers, and all that, and then we cut them a check at the end of their event, less expenses. We do a lot with Voices of Hope. They do 2 events a year with us. They're the largest donor to the Henry Tamir Center for Targeted Therapies at Mass General Hospital, and every dime that they raise after expenses goes to cancer research in Boston. So we've done, events in our lobby and to show we care. This is another great organization out of Gloucester. Their mission is to send people who are in cancer treatment to a show to forget about what they're going through for a night. And this gentleman from Gloucester, Stephen Tyler, goes out and raises money, and sometimes he'll raise it in our lobby and take donations. And then he is now sending 70 to 80 people to the first Friday of each one of our shows. So he has sent hundreds and hundreds, and Bill gives them a very reduced price to, take care of it. And it's amazing. You get the letters. I mean, what
awesome.
The impact it has on these people just to come. And then after the show, the cast comes, we give them a private reception area, and the cast comes and takes a photograph with them.
Great.
And mixes and mingles with them. It's amazing.
Good. So what things do you have planned for this year?
This year, we're definitely going to work with those organizations again to show we care, and Voices of Hope. They're already scheduled. My phone rings every day. You can't believe the opportunities and the asks that we get. We have a restaurant, 120-seat restaurant, 130 seats. So we use that for a lot of benefits. We'll give them the restaurant. They'll come in. They'll do an auction and a dinner or a comedy or whatever they want. So we do that. There will be other things on the main stage that we'll be announcing soon. We use our Broadway Club constantly for fundraisers for people, and our lobby as well.
So I was hearing from John Solms at the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce that one of the things that you do is that you bring in local restaurants to actually cater those events. Yes.
We had a restaurant partner the first couple of years, and they got so big, they were buying so many restaurants, they said, we're just stretched thin. We need to, concentrate on our company. So we were scrambling, quite frankly, and so we came up with this idea. why don't we get 6 different restaurants, 1 per show, and we'll bring them in, because it really is more of a catering model. You are just slammed for an hour and then everyone goes away.
Right, right.
So we call the restaurant and we say, we think we're going to do 120 people tonight. They bring enough food for 140 or 50 because we get a lot of
Sure.
walk-ups. And the patrons love it. We keep toying with whether or not we should go back to just partnering with one restaurant, but someone said to me this morning at a business breakfast, I love being surprised every month by the different restaurant. So we're kind of struggling with what to
Well,
do
you get
there.
some variety,
It's
and I
fun.
think that's it. I mean, it's not the same thing all the time.
Right. Like we might in the summer put American barbecue in there to do a
Yeah.
barbecue, but then we bring them back for a Christmas carol and they do an elegant buffet. And
Right,
we
right.
try to match the restaurant with the show. So if they're known for a particular theme, we tie them together. And they love it. It's great exposure
Well,
for them,
that's
and we
great.
love it.
It's not the school cafeteria with
No,
mac and
not
cheese
at all.
every day.
No,
Oh,
no,
no.
the food is delicious.
That's great. That's great. Well, I think that one of the things that we wanted to talk about was, the idea that of working with the community and the benefit both sides get out of it. I mean, you clearly get the support of the community. You certainly got the recognition from your award, but also from the people thanking you for saving the theater and all the history that went with it. Because
Right.
something that's been around since 1954, it's worth preserving.
Well, and it was estimated that the value to the economy was $8 to $11 million back in the heyday, and I'm sure it's close to that now. And we were talking to a local restaurant who said that when we were dark, she lost $4,000 a week in revenue. I mean, that's one restaurant in Beverly.
Because
we
shows,
the year that the
right.
theater was
People would go there
dark.
before or after the show to have dinner. Yeah, that's
Yep.
great. That's great. So, I mean, it had a significant impact on the community, and I think that's thank you very much for doing that, because it keeps it a little more
As it
vibrant.
says, it's been my pleasure.
So if I can take a segue into that, and we did a show last October on a program that we started at the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce called Keep It Local, and we started it on October 15th, and it basically is encouraging people to keep buying local. And I think at that particular story, when we were talking about it, Charlene St. Jean talked about her experience with Douglas Appliance, and I had an experience with Douglas Appliance just the other day where my washer broke down and I went in and saw them and they had delivered it later that morning. So it was like a 2-hour difference between when I bought it and when it got delivered and got set up, and my wife was extremely happy about that because it was right around the holiday. But keeping it local is really important, and that's why I think it's important for what you've done and what we're going forward, and a great success on your part in order to do that. So thank you very much on behalf of Beverly Chamber of Commerce for that. So with that in mind, I'd like to sign off, but I'd like to also mention that we'll be seeing the Beverly Chamber of Commerce Keep It Local, Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce Keep It Local insignia for the Keep It Local program on the back of the screen here. And please do keep it local. Make your purchases within the Greater Beverly community, and we appreciate your efforts on that. So on behalf of the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce, I thank you for listening and look forward to talking to you on our next show. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for having us.